Hi everyone, I'm GREYMOND. For the last 10 plus years, I've been helping people recover from OCD. I have my own method, and today I wanted to talk about the common mistakes in tracking time for OCD recovery. So a quick note, why do we track time? Tracking how much time you are ruminating, tracking how many compulsions you are doing if you're doing physical compulsions. It's ERP, but it's like ERP on steroids, meaning that you're not just passively, I'm just disregarding, I'm just reducing compulsions. No, how much are you reducing compulsions? How much are you disregarding? And when you keep tabs on it and you have this history that lines up that, hey, I was doing good this week, I did this, and this, I'm starting to feel better, versus I wasn't doing good this week, I know I need to improve this and this and this, I fell down here because of this and this. So you start to look at it like a game, you start to look at it methodically, and even when somebody asks you, well, how are you doing in recovery, you can give an actual factual answer of how you are doing, rather than, well, you know exactly how you're doing and you know exactly what you need to do to improve it. And this is why I always say that my clients are recovering faster than before, when we weren't doing the tracking. So this is why I really push on tracking the time. And again, if you're doing physical compulsions, then track the number of physical compulsions in the exact same way. But today I wanted to talk to you about the common mistakes in tracking time. So if you are tracking, and again, you can use the app, you can use a piece of paper, whatever works for you, but we track in 3-hour increments. And if you're new and you don't know why, the reason why it's in 3-hour increments is because if you track every hour, for people with busy lives, that's not really realistic for sustainability. Same as 2 hours, it just becomes too taxing. And 4 hours, you just won't remember how much time you ruminated. So 3 hours is this kind of perfect zone where you still remember, but it doesn't feel overwhelming to do that. And to track literally just takes a few minutes. So something that's gonna speed up your OCD so much, it's important for you to do that. It really is. Going back to common mistakes in tracking time. Say you've been tracking for a week and you're seeing that the numbers are jumping. So some days are really low, some days are really high. If that is happening to you and the difference between days is quite drastic, that usually means that you are logging. So logging versus actively tracking and reducing. So basically you're allowing yourself to ruminate as much as you want, and then or doing as many compulsions as you want, and then after that you're like 100 compulsions. And I know it's very, very difficult, but that's usually the mistake that I see when it goes up and down like that. So try not, if that's your situation, try not to log, try to kind of use it as a filter, where you have a maximum number of rumination minutes that you're allowed today compared to yesterday, and no matter what, you're not going beyond that. So say yesterday was 180, so 3 hours out of 3 hours. Today better be 170, and then tomorrow 160, and you're really keeping on top of yourself to stick to those numbers. Not obsessively, you don't want this to become an obsession, but mindfully and laser focused, right? So that's one situation, is if the numbers are jumping. If the numbers are generally going down, but every once in a while you're hitting a snag and the numbers seem to push back up, what's happening there? If the numbers all of a sudden you find they're going up, usually what happens in that situation is you are facing exposure that you can't handle every once in a while. So it could be the same thing that you're not very frequently exposed to that really triggers you. So try to work with that trigger more, doing more exposure work with that specific situation. And when you do exposure work, don't go over 7 out of 10, because I know a lot of the times doctors, therapists, they'll push you to the limit, but the problem with the reason for exposure work is to do response prevention. And the problem with going above around 7-ish out of 10 is that you can push yourself and you can put yourself in an exposure situation, but will you do response prevention? Probably not. I bet on not. So try to do it in doable increments, and everybody has a different tolerance for mental pain. Some can tolerate higher mental pain, some lower. For example, kids have very low tolerance. So if you are a parent and you're working with a child, try to reduce the exposures to absolute minimum. But if you are an adult that's been through things that you're like, I just want to push, I need to recover shortest amount possible, then maybe you can go instead of a 7 to like an 8. But I wouldn't go further than 8 out of 10 in terms of the level of stress that it's causing you. But if you feel like there's just this one trigger that just cuts me down, messes with my progress, then you gotta get through it, and you gotta do additional exposures for that one. If you find that the numbers are staying the same, so you find that they're generally just the same every single day, not better, not worse. So you look at, well, I have it in the app, right? Like you look at the week overview, but you can again do it on a piece of paper. It's not like I'm trying to sell you a $5 app or anything like that, but however you do it, try to first of all see, are you just kind of like putting a number down? Because sometimes people they'll just throw in, maybe it was like 10 minutes, and then they'll just put it for everything. So first of all, you need to really care about the numbers that you're putting down. They need to mean things. They can't just be just off the top of your head kind of thing. So they need to be fairly precise, not obsessively precise. We don't want to develop an OCD from this, an additional OCD theme from this. But you should be, if you're ruminated 5 minutes or 40 minutes, and if you're putting down, say, 30 minutes for every time period for the last week, you're not that regular. So there's usually, there should be ups and downs. So try to track more thoroughly, and especially watch, I would say, out of all the times of the day, watch the mornings and the nighttime. So for some people mornings, for some people nighttime. So if in the morning you're getting OCD thoughts and you find that the mornings are the worst, so you look at your chart and the first number of the day is the worst one, then you have to figure out what activity you can do in the morning. Laying down and ruminating is not the activity of your choice. Believe me, I have been there. It's a bad idea. Don't do that. You need to find something to do, and even if it's just getting out of bed and start getting your day started, it really doesn't matter what it is that you're doing in the morning, as long as you are active, and especially the hand-eye coordination. So working out, cooking, all those kinds of things help because they sidetrack your mind a little bit more. If you're just laying there or watching TV, passive activity is going to bring you more rumination. Same in the middle of the night. Unfortunately, if your option whether to lay there and sleep versus lay there and not sleep rather versus just doing something, I would say get up and do something, because there's no point in you just laying and getting deeper into thoughts. Because it's, when you look at your chart, wherever the numbers are high, you need to objectively understand why the numbers are higher in this time period. It could be that a certain trigger happens. A lot of the times I find also the weekends tend to be worse for people, and that's because on the weekend people are more active and people feel like, well, this is my only time to spend with the family. I need to be kind of better in terms of how I feel. Sometimes this is no longer that relevant in COVID because we're with them all day long, but for people who are working, working outside the home, I should say, is still very relevant. So if that's your situation, then the weekend is your challenge and walk into that challenge, whether it's weekend, morning, nighttime, like a champion, like a warrior, where you're like, all right, let's do this. You want to dance OCD? Let's dance. In approaching it that way, it's kind of like you're winning half the battle by just being prepared and approaching it that way. And then from there, of course, disregarding afterwards, keeping yourself busy afterwards, that, okay, well, the OCD exposure is over. Yeah, of course, very scary, feels very real, as always. All right, now I'm on to the next thing. Kind of keep yourself moving. Also, with the chart, if the numbers are jumping a lot, forgot to mention it, it could be stress related. So see if the days are correlating to the days when you're feeling worse, if it's correlating to your stress levels in real life. For girls, how is it correlating with your monthly cycle? I know with all the women that I could do coaching with, that monthly cycle affects their level of anxiety, because it would. So also being kind of more in warrior mode on those specific days, right? Because and viewing things on those days, on the stress days of the cycle days, that it's just because stress, I know it's not valid, I know later on in the day, so say if this is morning, right? In the afternoon, evening, it will not feel as real, so I just got to get to that period. I'm not going to ruminate now, I'm not going to seek reassurance, I'm not going to do compulsions, I'll just wait it out. And sometimes if you can't avoid doing reassurance, at least delay it, you know? And that's already training the brain that this is not all that relevant. So I hope these tips help you if you have any additional questions about tracking the time, because it's very important for you to understand how to track correctly for recovery. The other thing, I guess I always mention this, but I get this question a lot, and I'm sure I'll get it in the comments, is what counts as time tracking. I had my previous video went in depth on this topic, but anything except for when the thought came in. When the thought came in, that's not you. You have no control over that. It's what you did as a response. So thought comes in as a statement, as an image, as a sensation, as an urge, and then it's your turn. What do? Do you pull up a chair and listen very carefully? That counts as time. Or do you do a physical compulsion? Again, that counts as a compulsion. I hope this helps. I will be back tomorrow. I know I had a little bit of a break in videos, but I will be doing daily videos again, so I will be back tomorrow. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. If you would like to join us on the website, on the forum, or if you have any other questions, please visit youhaveocd.com. The link for the app I will leave below the video. Actually, all the links are below this video.